All right, we are starting our first unit of the year, which is First Americans, the beginning of U.S. history. So we're learning about the Native American people and or American Indian people who lived here first, basically in America, to understand the foundations of America. And so the first activity that you have is you're going to read this excerpt. So you have the introduction to section 4. And what I want you to do as you're reading is I want you to annotate and mark the text. So we're going to highlight information that's important, ask questions, and just interact so that we understand it a little bit better. So, introduction. In the unit, you will learn about First Americans, the American Indian, or Native Americans, people who were here when the first Europeans arrived. You will also learn about the Europeans who colonized North America and the British colonies. So we won't get to there just yet, but we're going to look at like political divisions, like the colonies and states did not exist before the Europeans arrived. Each American Indian group occupied a territory that had no formal boundaries. So this is important. No formal boundaries. So what I want you to do when you are editing this is I want you to highlight. You can either change the font color. That's the way to do it. Or you can highlight, or you can change the letters, whichever you want. And then I want you just to do a quick edit, quick comment. This is important because our world today has strict boundaries. And maybe not our world, but America. And then comment. So why is this important? Each American Indian group occupied a territory that had no formal boundaries. Well, kind of, as I said here, now we have specific states, right? There's very formal boundaries, whereas at the beginning of our nation, we did not have any. And so you're going to have maps here, and this is going to tell you what it is, where those boundaries, or kind of where different environments and different groups lived. So let's look a little bit more. Contact with European colonists changed those ways of life. So the map shows where European nations claimed land in North America. To satisfy French demand for furs, American Indians in regions claimed by France began to hunt more. So you can see that we hear France, we see Spanish here. The Spanish tried to enslave Indians and, along with the English, wanted their land. So here's our first kind of instance of colonization. This is a brief overview, and we're going to get into that in more depth, but right now we just want to understand who were the Native Americans. So you're going to have section 1, introduction, section 2, migration routes of the first Americans, and section 3, the first Americans adapt to the environment. Section 4, how American Indians viewed their environment. So this is just basically, this section is introduction, and then also the environment and how the geographical landscapes contributed to their lives of Native Americans. And so I want to see multiple annotations throughout the entire reading. I want you also, if you have a question, ask the question. So, for example, the Spanish tried to enslave Indians. Maybe that really stood out to you. And the reason I'm going to highlight it is interestingly enough, so just put a question. I would like to learn more about this. But for example, on my dad's side, my great-grandpa was Spanish, and my great-grandmother was a Native American. She was Navajo Indian. So this is really interesting to me. It caught my eye. I would like to learn more. Along with the English wanted their land. So maybe, again, I want you to be asking questions or comment. Increased hunting, fight from slavery, and loss of land pushed some Indian groups into territory occupied by other Indians. As the British colonies became a nation, and as that nation grew, the population shift continued. Eventually, almost no Indian lands remained. Which is really crazy because this entire land was first was the Native Americans and the American Indians. However, the names of many places in North America are reminders of those lands. The Ohio, Mississippi, and Missouri rivers get their names from American Indian words. I did not know that before reading this. And so this would be a great thing to acknowledge. Of a population you are conquering. I don't know how to spell conquering. Excuse me. Please forgive me. Oh, I did it right, guys. Awesome. Okay. So this is your assignment for the day. I want interactions. You're not just reading it. I need multiple per page. I really want to see your thinking, and I want to see you interact with the text.